Hi, everybody. Welcome to Run and Become, our latest virtual event. We normally have these things in store, but with the whole lockdown scenario, we're delighted we can now go global with these events. And as I was saying just now, we do have people from all over the UK dialing in tonight. So I just want to thank Meryl for taking that time to join us tonight. Meryl, as some of you know, is an international ultra-distance runner. She has run for Great Britain in the World Trail Championships in Portugal in 2019. She's also had some very good runs, notable finishing in the top 15 at the CCC race as part of the UTMB festival. And also locally, where she is in rural Aberdeenshire, finishing first lady in the Benahee Ultra. And I hope for people in the Northeast, I pronounced that more or less correctly. Meryl lives in a beautiful part of the Aberdeenshire countryside where she was born and brought up and has recently moved back to. And the Northeast, for those of you down south, has a really strong distance running tradition. Going back many years, you've got the ultra runners like Don Ritchie and marathon runners like Fraser Clyne and Alistair Wood. And more recently, people like Kyle Gregg, Robbie Simpson, and Robbie, the marathon runner, and Rob Sinclair, who has the West Highland Way records. So the area Meryl is from has a very strong tradition of distance and ultra running. And tonight she's got some really interesting things to say about nutrition, not just what to eat, but when and the how, etc., as part of a whole integrative lifestyle. So without further ado, I'm going to hand over to Meryl, who will now be sharing her presentation.
Thank you so much. Brilliant. Okay, thank you so much for coming along tonight. And I'm going to just go through a few things on this slide. First of all, again, a bit of kind of classroom rules and so on, but just to get us started. So please do connect with me. So if you're not already connected with me on social media, please do, or contact me through my website. You can sign up your email address there and then we can keep connected. Like I said, there's going to be a Q&A at the end. I also would love it if you can grab a pen and paper, because in terms of the coaching that I do, it's very action orientated. So it's great if you can make notes and do the tasks that I'm setting. Use the chat box as well. I'm going to ask you a lot of the time to respond to the questions that I'm asking. Again, this is going to really help you to take action, and that's what I'm all about. It's the doing, it's making progress, it's moving forward. That's how we maximize our potential. And as Adrian said, we're going to talk a lot about running and nutrition, but also health as a whole, goal setting, consistency, and I'll explain what integrative nutrition is all about. And I really want you to take bits from this today. Something that I have learned along in my whole journey of the last few years, getting into running and trying to maximize my potential, is that we can learn lots from lots of different people. We can read books, we can go to talks and so on. I really want you to take bits from this today, whatever is relevant to you, where you're at now. But ultimately, and if there's like anything, if you just take one thing away and you log off right now, it is to become an expert of your own health, your own nutrition, your own training. We are all extremely unique. And there is a lot of noise out there. There's a lot of different opinions and so on. And I'm going to hopefully help you to cut through that noise today and make sense of all that information. But the confusing thing is that people are so different. And that is why someone will want to tell you that keto is the absolute way forward. And that is because it does make them feel amazing, but it might not make you feel amazing. So it's really important that you work out what makes you feel amazing. And that's what is called Bio-Individuality. And that is part of my integrative nutrition approach as a health coach. I very much believe and see everyone as an individual, and we need to work it out. We need to work out what is right for us. We've got to experiment. And that requires developing a lot of self-awareness and also taking time to stop and self-reflect and take positive action towards whatever you're trying to achieve. And that's ultimately what health coaching is really all about, and I help people to do. So we're going to get straight away started with a bit of coaching, okay? And I want you to tell me in the chat have a little bit of reflection. What's working well in your training at the moment, or in your health goals, or your nutrition? What's working well? So just write something in the chat, 1 or 2 things that are working well. It's really, really good that we check in with these things. As you'll see in this quote here, building confidence is very much the same as building a brick wall. When you take the time to recognize all the small wins you make on a daily basis, you keep adding bricks to your wall of confidence. And this is what I've done a lot of in the last few years, is reflecting on what's working well, and also this question. And it's basically kind of back to being a teacher. We would always, when we're marking work, we would be saying what's working well, and then we'd also be like, okay, even better if. What's one thing that you can focus on in the next 7 days that's going to help you to keep getting better? What's one thing? I've not been able to see in the chat, so I'm not sure what's going on there, but I'm not seeing any.
We're getting lots of suggestions of what's working well for them food-wise, from fruit in the morning to flapjacks while they're running, porridge, and non-running, lots of people doing yoga and stretching.
Good, amazing.
And
yeah, for some reason I can't see the chat. It's
so
just not coming up with any notifications, which is a real shame, but Adrian will keep telling me.
We can work on that, yeah. And Louise, who I happen to know is up from Aberdeen, says concentrating more on the process and not the end result, and enjoying the process, which is quite important.
I love it. That's going to come up a lot in this today, and it is all about that. And I love this quote from Calm, again, a fantastic meditation app. With awareness, we can make conscious choices instead of letting our habitual thoughts and patterns just run the show. So instead of being in automatic pilot, which is very common in a very fast-paced life, we can stop and just reflect and make conscious choices. So I'm just going to share a little bit of my backstory, because I wasn't always very good at making conscious choices. I was running an automatic pilot for quite a while, and that has led me to where I am now. But I was a teacher for 13 years. And that was PE teaching, and also as a guidance teacher in secondary schools. So I've always been a promoter of lifelong participation in a healthy, active lifestyle. And I've always been just really, really passionate about a healthy mind in a healthy body, and the mindset side of things and psychology side of things. So that led me to move more into like leadership roles, where I did a lot of training and coaching and mentoring, and I worked with colleagues, and I also worked with young people and helping them to move forward, helping them to develop their self-awareness, their confidence, and so on. And in terms of my sport, obviously being a PE teacher, I've loved sport all my life, but I was the classic jack of all trades, master of none, until about 3 years ago. So I played everything: basketball, football, dancing, golf, squash, all of that. But about kind of 4 to 5 years ago now, I got quite a wake-up call, because I was working 12-hour days. I was playing like lots of sport at night and doing lots, and also the weekends were pretty full on, not particularly the most healthy lifestyle on the weekends. And I was definitely burning the candle at both ends. And I would say I burnt out, and I was fit, but I was not healthy. So I was actually anemic. I found out I was very anemic. I had like terrible skin. I had really, really high inflammation in my body. And, you know, I was struggling at work. I was very, very tired all the time, extremely fatigued, obviously with the anemia and so on. It gave me a real wake-up call. And I took a lot of action to improve my work-life balance and my health. So I did a lot less. And that is often the thing. We're trying to do far too much. And I was very guilty of that. And I have streamlined my life a lot more than I did. And then that made me achieve great things. And a lot of people, I think, have gone through that process in the lockdowns in the last year. And I really hope people can continue that and keep that going, keep a more simple life, doing less, saying no to things, and not running around like mad all the time. And in terms of the sport, I adopted a single pointed focus. And I think single pointed focus is another hugely important thing if you're trying to maximize your potential. It's the same as anything, you know, a lot of us are trying to multitask all the time these days, and it doesn't work. We can't do anything very well if we're trying to do too many things at once. So single tasking and single pointed focus, that's what really worked for me and really helped. And I got into ultra trail running back in kind of 2017. I think I ran my first race. So my kind of main learning from all of this was, as soon as I put my health as a top priority, I was then able to maximize my potential. And I now want to help as many people do that as possible. And you'll see in the bottom right-hand corner, this was the first race I did in 2018 with some structured training. It was Grossglockner Ultra Trail in Austria. It's absolutely incredible. It was my first proper race, and I actually ended up winning it, which was quite a surprise, but the most incredible experience. And I discovered that I have this potential in ultra trail running, and then went on from there, which was a 75k race, to race in South Africa later that year, and also managed a podium there at Ultra Trail Cape Town 65k. And then I was selected the next year to represent Great Britain, which was just amazing. I then went on, as Adrian mentioned, to do 100 kilometers, was then the distance I felt I had potential at, and I did CCC that following summer, and then also Ultra Trail Cape Town 100 kilometers, and had good, good solid performances at both of them. I've then decided, in the last year, I've set up my own business. I've moved into health coaching and ultra running coaching, and trained as an NLP coach too. And I suppose something that I'm just really, really passionate about, and now I work really closely with my running athletes and my health coaching athletes, is to stop this happening. Okay, and we don't let it happen to our mobile phones. We don't let it go down this low, but we often let it happen to ourselves. And I really like to help people to not do what I did and not burn out, and instead make really positive, easy, small lifestyle shifts so that you can live with energy and a life that's very fulfilled, and achieve your best in whatever you're setting out to do. Really, really quickly, this is just to kind of show you some of the races that I did over 2018 to 2020 before the pandemic. And the point in this slide is I've highlighted in grey all the races, and this is obviously, this happens a lot in ultra running, but a lot of things went really, really wrong in these races. And I know you might be thinking, oh wow, but you still came first. It couldn't have been that bad. But, there really were big things that I had to overcome in all of these races to get to the finish line. So even in the third place at Cape Town 65k, I actually started at the very back. And, I was there to compete, and I got my timings really wrong. I warmed up too late, ended up at the back of about 300 people. So I started the race, probably crossed the start line about 5 minutes later than my competitors. So, there's a real challenge when you start a race on such a bad foot. In the World Championships of Great Britain, I fell over, and I'd bashed both knees really badly, and, really had to persevere to finish that race. And in Turkey, Cappadocia, I experienced vomiting for the first time in an ultra run. And again, my point in all of this is just to show that there are whenever we've got goals, whenever we're setting out to do anything, we're trying to maximize our potential, there's going to be loads of ups and downs along the way, and it's not going to be smooth sailing, but we will come out the other side and it will get easier and it will get better. And as you can see, less and less grey as time has gone on, as I've built up experience and been able to learn from the experiences. And I absolutely love this, and I know it's a podium and it's got first place and so on, but it doesn't, I know not everyone here is aiming to win races and whatever, but just see this as representing success, and whatever success means to you. What we see and what we don't see is really important. There are all of these things going on, and there's not to try and scare you at all. It's just that we need to sometimes acknowledge that there's lots that has to go in when we are trying to maximize our potential, and there's going to be a lot of ups and downs. And another thing, as I've said before, I'm very, very passionate about mindset. Along the way, we really need this growth mindset. So instead of avoiding challenges, viewing them as opportunities. So I remember when I was running in Cappadocia and I started to be sick, I was like, okay, this is an opportunity to learn from something. What's going to happen in 20 minutes? Will I be able to walk again? Will I be able to maybe even run? Will I maybe be able to take on some food? And I thought, well, the only way I can know what happens in this situation is to keep going and see. And yeah, I think it's really, really crucial to have a growth mindset. And there are a lot of us, we're very good at training our body. And if you can see down there, there's a point, think of learning as brain training. And I find that very, very useful, and to think about training your brain in a really positive way to help you to keep moving forward. Okay, so I've got another question for you. And again, please write in the chat. Please also write on your piece of paper. This is a question I ask my health coaching clients in their health assessment at the beginning of our programs. What's the most important thing you can do to improve your health?
Fantastic. A lot of people mentioning sleeping well, eating well, trying to eliminate stress.
Yeah.
Clean up the diet, better quality of sleep again. So that's a common thing, I think, yes. And reducing the stress.
Okay. Amazing. And again, what is great is that you've acknowledged this. And I think even acknowledging it with us and sharing it in the chat is like the first step forward, and is going to really help you moving forward and being a bit more committed to taking action in this area. So interestingly, I think I have got an example here that is linked with sleep, okay, but it is one I've made up earlier. So you need to do this process for yourself and for your goal that you've basically come up with, because you've basically come up with a goal there, okay, a health related goal. And we're going to reverse engineer it. So reverse engineering basically is like when you know you've got a brief and that's what it wants to look like at the end, but you need to work your way backwards to come up with literally all the steps that are going to get you to that end result. So, for example, this might be the thing that you need to do in order to, you know, the most important thing to improve your health might be that I need to go to bed earlier. Okay, so I want to get more sleep, which has actually come up for a lot of people, which is great. And do write it in the positive, okay? Like this. So I want to go to bed earlier. I want to sleep 8 hours a night, okay? So what I want you to do with your goal is to put it at the kind of far right-hand side of your page in a little box, and then draw an arrow going backwards, and we're going to then make the next box. And in there, so if I go through this example, okay, if I want to go to bed earlier, I need to eat my dinner earlier, because at the moment eating dinner so late, that's what makes my bedtime so late. Okay, so we're kind of problem solving, we're moving back. So what's kind of making dinner happen so late? Well, okay, so I do my training and then I go check Strava and I'm sitting on my phone and then I get distracted and I go on Instagram or whatever. So I'm procrastinating after doing my training. Okay, and that might be because, you know, you're so tired after the run and you know that you've got to make something for dinner and you just can't really be bothered. So what might be a bit of a kind of step before that? What do you need to do before that? Okay, well, if I eat something, have a bit of a snack, and then I go for a shower, that might keep me kind of tied over. Okay, what do you need to do before that? Okay, I kind of need to have that prepared. Maybe prepare my dinner in advance so I can heat up and go. Okay, what's the step you need to do before that? You maybe need to cook double dinner the night before. And even what needs to happen before that? Okay, so before that, we need the food in, don't we? So we need to go shopping to get that stuff in the house for a good snack post run, and so you can make a double dinner. Then what needs to happen before that? We need to make a shopping list. Okay, and then you have your first step. And I know it might seem like this might seem like a really silly process. However, it is often that first step that is the hardest thing to come up with for so many of us. We feel quite stuck and it seems like too big a task in the beginning. You know, we need to break it down, and just making that shopping list has the potential to then have that knock-on effect of all those positive things, okay, of being able to have food ready after your run, being able to then shower, get to bed earlier, and so on. Okay, so this picture kind of sums this up. It's so important that we take lots of small steps when we are trying to maximize potential, while we're trying to achieve any goals, while we're trying to improve our health. Think about really small steps. Okay, and this is where we often go wrong, is we just aim far too big in the first instance, and we just can't get there, and then we just stay where we are and we stay very stuck. So another process that I go through is questions like this. So again, we got that first step, but obviously we can have the most positive intention ever that we're going to make a shopping list, but not do it, because that, you know, our motivation or the kind of impulse to do this positive thing, it often does just fade. So we've really got to get the commitment tied in for it. So we've got to go even deeper with the details. When will you sit down and make the shopping list? When will you go shopping? And also think, what might get in the way of you doing the shopping list and going to do the shopping? And plan to overcome those things. Okay, check how committed you are. Are you a 5 out of 10? If you are, then there's something not quite right. We need to work out why you're not so committed, and hopefully, and often is the case, because you by now you know you've really worked out, this is important for me, and give it a 10 out of 10 in terms of commitment. And another way to just really get you committed is to think about the bigger picture. You'll have heard of people saying, you know, what's your why? And that is this kind of stuff. You ask yourself the question, what's important about me going to bed earlier? What am I going to gain from doing this? We need to convince our brain that it is worth the effort. So make a list of all the benefits that you will get. Okay. In terms of goal setting, just going to go through this really quickly. I'm sure a lot of you have heard of SMART, and a lot of you know about short, medium, long-term goals, and I do believe in these. I think they're very, very important, but I also am very flexible with goals. I think they need to, and they will evolve over time as your priorities change. Okay, so a little bit more with the goal setting, I love to think of it as a roadmap when you are setting goals, okay, and that we're on quite a journey and we're going to have milestones kind of along the way. And further to what I was saying earlier about thinking about the benefits, visualization is hugely, hugely important. And I think that's something that can really, really help you to take the action and to achieve your potential. I did a lot of visualization, actually accidentally, before the first ultra race that I won. I just kept visualizing running through the tape and like the noise and how I would feel. And you need to do the same for this goal, this health goal that we've been looking at. Also, list all the actions, all the small steps that you could take. Come up with like options. What could you do? And also think about your kind of attitude that you need to have. And if you've got any beliefs that are quite limiting and negative and thoughts, and look at these things. Also think about what kind of support do you need to achieve your goals and put them on the roadmap. And also really remember to just start where you are now and focus on that part, like what's just right in front of you, that next step. And I always think of it like when you're running uphill. So if you're running up a hill and you look at the top of the hill all the time and how much that messes with your head, it's so important that we just, when we're running up a hill, that we look just in front of us and don't focus on the top of the hill, because that can quite often just be a bit overwhelming and look like it's going to be such hard work to get there that we give up and we don't do quite as well as we want. Again, think about challenges, roadblocks that you're going to get along the way and plan for how you will overcome them. Reward yourself along the way. Tell people. I think that's a hugely powerful bit of coaching and group coaching as well, is that, you know, we're sharing out loud our goals with other people, and even what you've done in the chat, that's a great start with it. And then we've got that accountability. And also put this roadmap up somewhere at your desk, something like that, so that you can see it every day, and even have a vision board. I also think are great, again, because that's really visual, that visualization process. So that's a good bit about goal setting, and I hope there's lots that you can take away from that. And I really do think that's important when you're trying to maximize your potential. As we want to get consistency going, that's a key part of it. And setting the goals properly in the first place and taking small steps will really help you to keep consistent. And I'm now going to talk a bit more about food and nutrition. So like I said at the beginning, this word bio-individuality, there's not one diet that works for everyone, and you need to explore what works best for you. I also don't believe in dieting. If you are trying to lose weight, I just don't believe that restriction works. It's not sustainable. And instead, we need to aim for a healthy lifestyle and a healthy diet. And it doesn't have to be 100% healthy. I think for a lot of us, it's realistic to be 80% healthy, 20% not. If you're aiming for weight loss, then 90%, 10% is your best bet. And if you want to clean up your diet, like I say, restriction doesn't work. So there's no point saying, okay, I'm going to stop having sugar, I'm going to stop drinking alcohol. Instead, we need to crowd out the bad food, the naughty food. We need to crowd it out with better things. And I'm going to show you what they are in a minute. And we also need to deconstruct our cravings, because cravings can often be the challenge when people are trying to eat healthy, but they keep craving certain foods. And again, with the integrated nutrition approach, I will be able to hopefully help you to understand why we get cravings. There are lots of reasons, and that's probably a whole other workshop. However, we do want to look at our primary food and our secondary food. Okay, and I'm going to explain the two in a second. A great way that I help people to deconstruct their cravings is doing a food diary and a bit of self-awareness and tracking. And we look at how certain foods are affecting our physical how we feel physically, how we feel emotionally, and just journaling along the process can really, really help. So in terms of nutrition, okay, I really think we need to go back to basics. And with these guidelines here, whatever disease or illness people are suffering from, they can get better. So eating less meat, milk, sugar, and processed food, and drinking less coffee and alcohol. Eating more fruits, vegetables, and whole grains, eating good quality protein and enough for the training that you're doing, and also other things like your age, and if you're pregnant, all of these things. There's lots of bio-individuality in there with protein. Obviously, drinking enough water, again, that varies for people, and getting adequate rest. Okay. So what I want you to do, I'm going to give you another little task here, and we can again look at the chat. This is a 12 steps to better health. Okay. And like I said, that there's primary food. So here are some examples of primary food here. So your career, spirituality, physical activity, relationships. Okay, these are examples of primary food. And then these are kind of more secondary food strategies here. And these 12 steps are a brilliant way and approach to improve your health. Okay, so what I want you to do is pick one. So just pick one from this wheel that is the kind of the one that you think is next for you in your health journey and improving your health. Which one would you pick? So just write in the chat again for a bit of accountability, share it out loud, and well, not out loud, in the chat for now, it's fine. And then you can use this GROW coaching model, which is fantastic. I love it. Use it a lot with my clients and myself, self-coaching. What do you want? So say you want to increase leafy green vegetables. Okay, where are you now? What's going well? What's not? And then come up with some options. Okay, what could you do to increase leafy green vegetables? So shopping list, go shopping, buy a steamer if you don't have a steamer, because that obviously makes it super quick and easy. Just add spinach to dinner, add kale and broccoli and so on, and just think about lots of options. And then in terms of the way, what will you do? Pick one of them that you will do tomorrow. And there you have a very small step, and you can get started with my integrative nutrition approach. How are we getting on in the chat? We got some.
In the chat, we have a lot of people going for drink more water.
Yeah.
That's subliminal at the top of the screen. I'm not sure, but we've also got people who also want to develop a spiritual practice. And number 5 has got a few responses, which is upside down, but that's
leafy greens.
Yeah. So pretty varied. Also, number where are we? Number 3, experiment with whole grains. Also.
Awesome. Yeah, and drinking more water. Again, with water, it's very personal how much you need to drink. And you need to find out, basically, you want to get your urine a really nice clear color. Okay, and that's a good sign that you've drank enough. But we also don't want to be impacting our sleep so much that we are getting up in the middle of the night to wee all the time. So we've got to find that nice balance, but it is so important, and you will feel so much better when you drink more water. Okay. So again, I'm going to explain now a bit more about the integrative nutrition plate and what foods we should be eating, when and how, and so on. So firstly, we'll have a little look at this plate here. So as you can see around the outside, relationships, physical activity, career, spirituality, these are the 4 main areas of primary food. Okay, and primary food basically we need more than just the food on our plate to thrive as humans, okay? We need to be fulfilled in these areas. And if we are not, then it has a huge effect on our food. There's a very close relationship with the two, okay? And then again, cravings will come from here. So for example, if work is really, really stressful and your satisfaction at work is really, really low, you're probably going to be craving much more comfort foods and sugary things like that. Maybe you're working really long, late hours and so on. So regularly checking in with how satisfied you are on a scale of 0 to 10 in these 4 areas is really, really important and a really, really good thing to do for your health. And it's something that I did back when I was able to turn around my health for the better and get a much better balance and living a life that's much more fulfilling. And I'm going to just go through some of the areas here. Like, I love that it's super colorful, this plate, because that is also something that I think is really important in our food. We need to eat the rainbow. All those antioxidants will reduce the inflammation that we get from our training. And obviously, just they're loaded. Vegetables are absolutely loaded with vitamins and minerals. And we want variety and fiber for a healthy gut. Oh, I don't know how that came up. And that you're going to get that, okay, from a varied diet and lots of different colors in your meals. I also think meal planning and advanced preparations are super important. And quite often when we think meal planning, we like, as an athlete, it's like chicken, rice, broccoli, 5 days a week lined up. And that is not what I think we should be doing, okay? We want variety. So we don't want to be eating the same thing every day. We need to make sure we're getting all the essential vitamins and minerals and all these essential food groups. So we've just got to plan, we do have to look ahead at the week. I think planning is, and the fact that you're all here, you can plan. That's a strength of yours. You're organized and you can plan because you're here. You made it tonight. You made it on time and you're here. So these are strengths that you can use with your food, okay? And it's just about going, okay, when am I going to sit down and plan? And it's not going to take long, but do it and you will feel the benefits. I have, health coaching clients who have added in like something called family health, and they literally on a Sunday night, it has become a complete routine. They sit down and they plan this stuff, and it has made such a difference to their life and to the whole family. Whole grains, so I'll go through that in a little bit more detail in a second, but again, that's often the sticking point. Like, we can't be bothered waiting for the brown rice because it takes 40 minutes. So do it in advance. Do it on the Sunday, cook up a big batch, and then you can have that between your lunches. Keep it in the fridge, obviously, about 3 days it will be okay for, and you can have that then with your meals. And that's our main energy source. Okay, so we need to have that in our diet. Don't fear the carbohydrates. And obviously there is bio-individuality. So some of us are going to thrive on lots and lots of them. Some of us maybe more fats, but you've got to work that out. Okay, but again, they are going to be absorbed slowly, and they're going to then give you that sustained high quality energy. They're going to help you to keep blood sugar levels really stable. And then physically and emotionally, you are going to stay stable. And that is the key. That is the goal. That's how we get consistency going. Healthy fats, again, cannot forget about them. They get a lot of bad press, fats. That's just the trans fat, okay? And we want to have saturated fat in moderation. But omega-3 is really, really important for inflammation again. And we can get these foods from nuts, seeds, oily fish, avocado, chia seeds, flax seeds. I add them to my porridge every day. I've got walnuts in my porridge every day, and so on. Eat your greens. Again, I think is so important. Loaded with magnesium, iron, calcium, also extra protein in there. The alkalineness is going to keep us in like good homeostasis and the way our body wants to be, the pH levels, so we can function at our best. Okay, timing of food around running and what we eat is really important for consistency. It's a big topic, okay? And we also do need to remember that we are very different. So it's quite a hard one for me to answer because you really need to go and work out what works for you. But I will give you some thoughts and some ideas, okay? So quite typically when we eat, well, we need to practice, I think that's my next point, we need to practice everything. So in terms, and I know a lot of you will do this, you'll have maybe sussed out, right, what I need to eat before a race and what time I need to give myself. So for me, it's, you know, I'll have my porridge, I'll keep it quite plain when I'm racing, and then I'm about two hours, then that's optimal for me. Today, I actually had about 3 hours after my porridge and I felt really low energy, and it's something I try to avoid. I definitely needed another wee snack. So for all of us, we're different and you've got to work it out. But sometimes if we leave it too long, we'll then have again, our blood sugar levels are just going to dip and we're going to feel very tired. So really do put a bit of time into experimenting and working out what works for you. After you've been for a run, really important to get carbohydrates, which often we think is protein, but we need carbohydrates and we need protein after our runs. And within half an hour, and if we've got that combination, then you will optimally replace your glycogen stores. And we need to, because then we can go and train again the next day and we're going to feel more recovered. So in terms of the timing and stuff, it really depends where you're at, what level you are training at and racing at and so on. As much as possible, I think we get real food in as well after our exercise. And however, sometimes we are busy and we might need to have a protein shake. And that's absolutely fine. And I'm going to go into it in a minute, but that might be our bronze standard or our good standard in the week rather than our best, but it's still progress. It's still progress in the right direction. Okay, so it's quite a big topic. And again, I'm sure if that's an area you want more help with, then please do ask the questions at the end. In terms of the food, if you've not having a protein, maybe food, an example of something I have after is kind of some peanut butter, bananas, oat cakes. Really enjoy that after a run. A nice handful of nuts. I had today, I had banana. And again, the hydration important too, electrolytes as well. So yeah, it's probably come up a few times now, but we've got a plan. I think that is so important. If you want to maximize your potential, you've got to spend some planning time. If that becomes a 10 minutes once a week, even to start with, again, start small. It doesn't have to be a whole day on the weekend, and give everything a practice and become the expert of your own health, okay, and your own training and your own nutrition. So again, you've seen this already. And like I said before, we need more than just the food on our plate to thrive. There are lots of areas of primary food. These are just the 4 main ones. And there are others like joy, education, home cooking, your social life. So again, for a lot of my clients during the lockdown, social life has been really low. And the effect that's had on their food and their cravings, and we've worked to then, okay, so say your social life is a 3 out of 10 at the moment. What could we do? Okay, we always look for options, possibilities, rather than just staying in like problems and we're stuck and there's nothing we can do. So we got creative in order during obviously lockdown to be able to get more fulfillment in that area. And then the positive impact that had on food was really incredible. Again, this plate, Bio-Individuality, this is a great place to start. It works for a lot of people. However, it might not work exactly for you. You need to tweak it. You need to try it out, and you need to tweak it so that it whatever makes you feel best, okay, in your body, in your recovery, in your energy levels, in keeping well and not getting sick. Your skin is a fantastic indicator of how well things are going inside, okay, because it's a non-essential organ. And so if your skin is good, the whites of your eyes, if the whites of your eyes are really white, that's a great sign you are super healthy. So just looking at the time, I'm not going to go through this task, but please make a note of the link. And it's a fantastic task to do. You can do it at that link online. And if you just Google actually IIN, Circle of Life, this is where I did my training at the IIN. And this is the primary food wheel, or the circle of life. And you can do the little task, complete your circle. How fulfilled are you in each of these areas? And it will give you a really great visual representation of your life right now. And then you can take action in that area. So say it is social life that's really low, probably not for many of us right now because we're all going out all the time again. But if it is, what can you do to get it from a 3 to an 8? Come up with options. Again, think about that GROW coaching model. Where's that now? That's the reality. Okay, what are my options? What could I do? What else could I do? And then pick one. Pick one that you feel most drawn to that's going to work, and decide all the details. When, what might get in the way, all of these things. Again, what are you going to benefit and gain from? Okay, so final kind of point, and this is probably, I've probably put this at the end because if you're still here and you're still awake, then you get this, you deserve this golden nugget, which is about how to get consistent and stay consistent. I don't believe this is the only thing. I think a lot of the things we've talked about already are going to help you with that too, okay? But what often happens when we are setting out to improve our health or to improve our running times and so on, we have a bit of an all or nothing approach. And that's, you know, why people end up in like a stop-start cycle with goals, or maybe like you've probably heard of yo-yo dieting, when people if you try a diet, but then give up a couple of weeks later. And that's because we go out with the best intention, and we have this like positive motivation and impulse to change. However, we can't maintain that best effort. Okay. And I had to apply this with my business when I was setting it up, because I was, you know, still working and training and so on. And I was getting quite frustrated that I couldn't maintain my best effort, and then I was ending up stopping. So I applied this strategy, and I've given a little example with food, okay, with healthy eating. So the strategy basically is this, that we need to come up with a good standard, a better standard, and a best standard, okay? So good is for when things get in the way. So when unexpected things happen in life. So people with kids are probably going to get a lot of this. When you've got very unexpected things that happen, maybe you've got a day planned at home, but one of your children gets sick and everything goes out the window. This is when we want to have good, okay, good standard. Then better might be where we have had some time to plan and prepare things in advance. And then your best will be, like I talked about earlier, when you've been able to sit down on the weekend, plan things and organize things and prepare in advance. This is obviously an example with your food. So you can see like the difference with, for example, the snacks in a good, these are going to be in the cupboard, they're going to be pre-bought, you know, naked energy bars, oat bars and so on. Whilst my best effort, I will have made homemade energy balls and homemade banana bread, of course. So just to give some examples, okay? And you need to come up with this for yourself, for the behaviors, the actions that you will be taking in line with the goal that you're trying to achieve. Okay, so if my goal is to be eating healthy, this is good, better, and best. Okay, so I hope that helps. And I love this from Liz and Molly. I share this a lot on my Instagram, but don't let a bad day distract you from all the progress that you've made. And that's why we need to have good, because good is what we do on a bad day, and it's got to be achievable, and there are going to be lots of ups and downs. So that's really, really important. Okay. So we're not going to have time to do this, but I'm afraid. I'm going to just start to wrap up so that we can have a good chat at the end, a good bit of Q&A. So please do take a scan of this QR code, or please have a little look at my website and connect with me over there. But I just wanted to share at the end of this that I do have some places remaining in my Eat Well, Run Well program, which is starting in May. And it basically is a 3-month group health coaching program. And you can also, if you like, you can either just be there for health coaching, or you can do health and run coaching. And we basically meet 2 times a month. And it's a group of like-minded people who are passionate about running and improving their health. And we meet every week, and we've obviously got our goals, and we're working towards them, and we're going through processes like the ones we've done today and others. And you have that accountability from a coach and from the group, and it keeps you checking in. And that's such an important thing, is regularly checking in with your goals and doing that reflection process. And when we carve out the time through a program and investing in a program, we really do get great results. And along the way, you obviously get handouts and resources sent to you, whatever are relevant to what you are working on. It is it's very led by you coaching, because it's all about what's going on at this present moment. And for everyone that's attended the workshop, so if you do want to sign up for this, then I'm also going to be throwing in a free one-to-one health coaching call. So we do have a whole hour together, one-to-one, and that can be very, very powerful. And you know, the whole point in this, and the aim of all my coaching, like I said, is that we have lifelong participation in an active, healthy lifestyle. So it's about healthy, active, healthy, lasting shifts. So thank you so much for attending. I hope you are still awake. It'd be great to chat with you all in a minute. And this is my email address, so do write it down. Do get in touch if you want to connect. If you have any questions that we don't have time to talk about today. And then also, there's obviously my website there and my social media handles. So thank you so much.
Thanks very much, Meryl. So if anyone does have any questions they want to just address in the short term, please do put them in the chat box. While we're waiting for them to come in, I just want to say, listening to all of that, so much of it sounds so simple, and you sort of think, yeah, I know that. And then you reflect and say, but how much of that am I actually doing? Mm-hmm. And it's certainly given me a few things to think about in terms of, you let things slide. Yeah. Okay.
No, totally. And that is the challenge. It's the challenge that a lot of us face. And that is why coaching, I think, is so powerful, because you are regularly checking in. You've carved out that time so that you make it a priority, and you don't let anything get in the way of that time each week or every fortnight.
So questions are starting to come in. Glenn Evans is asking, what's your opinion of a weekly cheat day?
I don't agree with cheat days, as you can probably imagine. Again, it's the mindset of it. It's quite all or nothing, and I think it's not the healthiest mindset to have. about anything. We've got to be flexible, and we don't, like I said, we don't need it. We can be very healthy and happy on 80% healthy, 20% 20% not. So you don't have to have your 20% in one day. I would probably not really encourage that either.
What about your little treat?
Sorry?
What about your little treat?
Yeah, I think it's, to be honest, I think the kind of ultimate goal is to be kind of content with like a couple of pieces of dark chocolate. I think that is a great kind of ambition to have, and we can satisfy our sweet cravings in lots of other ways, like increasing sweet vegetables. And if we chew whole grains properly, we actually really get a lot of sweetness.
Okay, we've got a question from David, who I'm assuming is in Wales, but I shouldn't assume too much. But he's asking, what would you say is your top tip for eating during ultra runs?
So obviously practicing it in training. So every run that's kind of over 2 hours, I would be practicing eating and basically training your gut to take on, gradually build it up to take on more and more. So you might start with kind of 60 grams of carbohydrates and then build that up to maybe 100 grams over time. So it's a long process. Yeah, quite a long process that you need to go through. But for me personally, again, it's what works for you, but I do use gels. I try to eat real food in training away from the race, but as I'm getting closer to a race, particularly that last month before a race, because your gut microbiome is changing and you need to, it's often when we're doing less training, but it's, you know, our gut microbiome changes over that time. So we have to keep training it in that last month. I've made that mistake before a long time ago, but yeah.
Last subject, and what I would say is the longer you run, the more that solid food is important. I mean,
Yes.
there's lots of various resources out there. If you want to email either myself, because I have a lot of experience in ultras as well, or Meryl, we can sort of follow up you with that, Daphne, certainly.
Yeah.
But moving on to our next question.
Sorry, did mean to say that, like, after, if it's longer than 3 hours, always there's going to be real food in there. And I would tend to eat the real food earlier in the race, the first half as well, and move more onto the gels and liquids to the end. Yeah.
This is from Nick Todd. With the food advice you have provided for eating before and after runs, is the advice different depending on the distance? And it's like, if you're running a 5K, do you have one type of food before and after, and a half marathon, something different again?
Not hugely. I think if you've done a very long, the longer it is, you are going to need to replenish those calories and keep feeding on quite a regular basis after. So yeah, you're not going to have to do as much of that after 5 kilometers as a longer distance. Yeah.
So half marathon is just keep piling the calories afterwards. Yes.
Yeah.
More than a 5K. Yeah. This is Claire Reid to everybody. What is your opinion on intermittent fasting? Ooh, big topic.
So, you know, as part of my training, we actually studied over 100 different diets, and intermittent fasting is one of the diets which a lot of people like to do, and they feel fantastic on it, and it's the most rapid way of weight loss as well, and obviously there's a lot of links with clarity in your brain and so on. However, missing one meal a day does mean you're missing all of those nutrients and vitamins and everything that you need. So I don't advocate it, again, because I just don't believe it's sustainable, and especially for people running quite a lot, you are not able to get your basic calorie needs. So again, is possibly a short-term thing that some people might try. However, again, that's us going into that kind of yo-yo changing, and yeah, be nice to see people having a healthy, balanced diet which is sustainable.
Great, that's a good topic. This is from Amelia, or Amelie, sorry if I got it wrong. Would you suggest it's better to stick to foods and snacks after a run or workout, even if it might be harder to hit the same levels of protein in comparison to having a protein shake?
Again, it's a tricky one because there's lots of different opinions about that, and I think it does just depend on your bio-individuality. If you need that protein to feel better, and then you maybe do need to have a shake. But there's obviously there's so many added things in those shakes that you've got to watch that aren't particularly healthy. So just trying to find the best ones, really.
Okay, that's another lengthy topic, but
yes.
This is one from Drew to everybody. What is your opinion on training while fatigued? That's common for a lot of runners, yes. When we're fatigued, how much or how should we keep training?
Yes, again, obviously we are going to have an element of fatigue when we're doing training. I think it's a tricky one. I do work when we're working with my clients. We're quite careful at looking at all the different stresses in life, and we do consider a lot of it and take it into account, because for a lot of people that is where you end up getting injured and you just push it that little bit too far. It depends what you're training for. I think especially in ultra running, I just believe the consistency is so important. So dropping a session down to an easy run because you're fatigued means you're still running. I think that's a lot better than going and doing that session and ending up getting sick or having to then take 3 days off.
It's from a coaching point of view, a lot of coaches, it's natural to feel fatigued if you're training hard for anything. It's trying to be being honest with yourself. Are you just tired? Are you fatigued? Or are you sort of, as coaches, entering the valley of death, which is where you're really overdoing it and you're waking up tired in the morning? So it's trying to figure out where you are on the fatigue scale, I guess. Yeah,
definitely.
And this is one from Stephen, as well as a few thank yous, so people have had to leave. But what about training fasted? Is it good for teaching your body to run for longer using fat for fuel rather than when you always have a high carb availability? Interesting question.
Yep, definitely. But doesn't necessarily mean, I still think you can get benefits from going out for a run and not taking on gels, if that makes sense. So it is you're not running with gels. So for example, anything under 2 hours, I don't take on any gels, but I wouldn't necessarily be running without having breakfast, if that makes sense. So not completely fasted like that. I maybe would have something quite quick burning carbs, so high glycemic bagel or something like that, or a banana, so I can get out and go and not have to wait for 2 hours some days. So there'll be something quite small, then I'll do a session. But to be honest, if I'm doing a hard session, I will always have a very good breakfast before it. But I'm not putting in the gels. I'm not fueling unless it is over 2 hours.
Okay, thanks for that. And we've got one from one of our regular attendees from Edinburgh, Lindsay Morrow, who's asking, do you take any supplements while training?
I do. I take iron, as anemia is something I still, no, I've not. I've got it definitely under control, but to be safe. Also, vitamin D. From time to time, magnesium. and also I take a probiotic. Yeah, so that's what I personally supplement with.
Okay.
But again, bio-individuality.
Yeah. Yeah. Okay. A few more. Lindsay saying thank you for that. Yeah. And she's really enjoyed the session. So that seems to be all the questions. If I've missed any, we can catch up with them. Do mail them to Meryl. As I say, we hope that tonight has given you something to, actually, Meryl said at the beginning, if there's one thought you've taken on tonight, that will just make you stop and think, yes, that will help me. Because we're all runners here. All we want to do is be able to run comfortably and run happy and maybe a bit faster and a bit further. And just taking the time to plan and think about our diet and other elements of our life will certainly help with that. Yeah.
Thanks. Yeah, it'd be wonderful, because this is what I always ask at the end of my coaching sessions. What has been your key takeaway? If you could write that in the chat, that'd be amazing. What's been your key takeaway from the session? That will really help in the feedback, and also it maybe give you that idea. That's, you know, that's what I really need to go away and focus on.
And on that note, I think it's a good point to end. But before you leave the meeting personally, yes, just put something in the chat box as a bit of an affirmation to yourself. This is what I'm going to do starting as soon as I get off this call. Not tomorrow.
Brilliant.
Yeah. Okay, big virtual round of applause for Meryl. And thank you so much for giving up your time. And
thank you so much for coming, everyone. Amazing.
Thanks a lot, everybody.
Thank you. Take care.